Welcome to another episode of Football Gawds. We'll be reviewing Matchday 9 of the EPL. And today I'm with Nkulego and Ntogozo, who are how can I call them? My guests. Actually, it's fine. We'll call them as guests. How are you, gentlemen?
All right, how's it?
I'm good. Today is my podcast.
Clearly.
Anyway, gentlemen, let's just talk about the top three previous matches they played over the weekend from the EPL, starting off with Arsenal versus Tottenham, the London Derby. Who wants to go first?
I'm gonna go first. I have to go first. Right. I want to hear what people are going to say now. Are they still gonna say we haven't played a big team yet? Or Vélez Spurs does not count as a big team? Because I can understand that argument as well. Like, what needs to happen for Arsenal to finally get recognition from rivals and from pundits and everyone for them to say, okay, maybe we should take Arsenal serious. Not saying we're going to win the title or anything like that, but like this is a different team. This is a very competitive team. And every week, and maybe actually, maybe it's not such a bad thing that people underestimate us, and they don't take us serious. Maybe it's good to go under the radar sometimes because when everyone now starts picking you up, and then maybe the pressure, I don't know, comes at you'll tell me how you feel about that. But I just like it's very hard to not be excited as an Arsenal fan, at the moment. And yeah, I'm really happy with the win. Very dominant win. Um, I can't say, look, I'd be lying if I say I expected us to win because, like I said, I think Spurs, in as much as they don't play amazing football, I think they play the kind of football that normally beats Arsenal, if you know what I mean. Like any
Yeah.
team, like the easiest way to beat Arsenal over the years, over the last 15, 20 years, was just counter-attacking football. Just make sure you've got a clinical person up front, which Spurs have in Kane and Son, and then like 2 or 3 breaks, you just score. And that's how you beat Arsenal. So I always have that low worry because that's also how Man United beat us, really, in my opinion. Um, yeah, so I was worried about that. So I'm glad that we still managed to overcome those kinds of things. And yeah, the signs are looking very good. I'm really excited.
Okay. I think I'll relay your question to Nkulego. I think as the objective person in this panel, he'll be a great person he'll provide a great response, but just a little comment on when are we going to be taken seriously. We'll never be taken seriously until we lift the trophy. It's as simple as that. And I've come to terms that I need to accept that because when a Chelsea beats a Spurs, they're like, wow, Chelsea beat a top team. When Man United beats a Spurs, wow, Man United beat a top team. When Arsenal beats Spurs, they beat a team that's top 8 material. It's not so great. So there's a lot of double standards around Arsenal. And I also kind of understand why. Because we've been such a promising team for the past 12 years, 15 years, whatever, or 20 years now that we haven't won the league. That people have gotten to a point where they know we're going to succumb to pressure. So people can't see us as title challengers until we have the title. It's as simple as that. And I've come to terms with it, and I think the players have, and I think Mikel Arteta has. But the most important thing that you said is that maybe it's actually a good thing that we're underdogs. Let Man City fly with Erling Haaland scoring 100 goals per match. That's fine. Until we meet Man City and we beat them 1-0, we'll silence a few people. But Nkulego, over to you.
Yo, I thought this was the Arsenal podcast. Hey, jeez. Wow. Like, I can't believe, like, on all objective levels, it's like you are to be taken seriously. It's good you're not taken seriously. So you're the victim in all of this. Like, somehow, oh, we should be, in awe of Arsenal and what they've done. Like, okay, top of the log. well done. I guess we always can commend on a great start. We know it's a marathon. At the same time, we can see who's chasing you already and who they've played, at the moment. So they haven't even started playing the weak team Arsenal have started with. So I can only hope that it's not a false dawn. To be honest, I believe Arsenal are better placed to actually mount a challenge, considering all the would be, top four teams. They all, we can argue, in rebuilding phase. Chelsea lost a manager. They had a upheaval, a lot of signings. Of course, they weren't going to hit the ground running. Tottenham as well. Conte's having his first full season, raft of signings, trying to instill his play. Man United, of course, where Man United is at this point in time. Look who's also in the top four, Brighton. So go figure. Arsenal and Man City are the most well-equipped to do anything really. Not surprised. I wouldn't say Arsenal would be the great team that you claim to be at this point in time. You're just better equipped. You will challenge the true test. Europa is also a thing. The true test is how you handle the two. I believe that if Arsenal need to continue the run, they definitely cannot afford a long run in Europa, because definitely Man City are more equipped in terms of a squad, in terms of experience. But I'll hand it to Arsenal. I can't hate. They definitely are, the second most, impressive team. And yeah, well done on beating, Tottenham, although most of the goals are also mistakes from them, but hey, it all counts.
Pressure.
Okay.
Pressure forces mistakes, probably.
Okay. Without spending too much time, let's move on to the Liverpool versus Brighton game, which was a very exciting game. I mean, 3-3.
Brighton is
to get 3 goals at Anfield is just hard. Let's start there. And
Yeah.
for 3 goals to come from one person, that's even harder.
Brighton are a well-coached team.
I think the last person who scored 3 goals at Anfield, if I'm not mistaken, sorry for going back to Arsenal, it was Ashervin. He actually scored 4. Yeah, he scored 4. That was the last person who scored 3 and above goals at Anfield.
Oh. Wow. No, like Brighton are a well-coached team. To be honest, like if you build a system, like anyone can coach in that team, and they've definitely been buying for it. They lost good players, but if you can see the cracks is that they've always had a system. I'm not surprised. With Liverpool now, we did argue, right? Or we did mention that it's proving now it's Klopp's time to prove if he's actually a progressive coach, because clearly he doesn't have the players that can press as much as he had in the past. Mane, who used to start the press, no one presses like Mane anymore. So you need to have, there's now ball playing footballers in Thiago, you have your Darwin Núñez. It's definitely a different style of play. And now we can see how Van Dijk was the only defender in that back four, really, because everyone else is just, reliant on the front, attackers winning the ball. The others are now Trent.
Disrespect Matip. Don't disrespect Matip, please.
I don't believe those like in terms of a defender, that can actually hold their own. Matip is, I guess he can, complement Van Dijk, but I believe it shows that if you beat the front three, free press, penetrate Liverpool in the midfield. But Van Dijk is always exposed. All the goals that have been conceding, Van
Well,
Dijk
that's
is the
how a
one.
press works, right? Really, like that's like the whole point of a press, really. It shouldn't get to that point, right? So I mean, even if you can have Maldini in his prime and Cannavaro, whoever, like when it's 1v1, like it's never easy for like any two defenders. So and I think the criticism is a bit harsh on Van Dijk and his decline and whatever, because yes, a large part of I guess his greatness was in large part due to the fact that he was never exposed a lot because of Liverpool's great press and stuff like that. So now because their press is not as good as it used to be, he gets exposed a lot. And I mean, law of averages, right? Like he's not going to win everything, right? So, and I mean, the media can have agendas. So you can look at it one way. So the one way of looking at it is just to highlight his mistakes, because when you're at the top, everyone is waiting for you to fall, right? So I think everyone now is just excited at saying, "Yo, look, this guy, basically like God can bleed kind of thing. Like, yo, this guy is not the nigga anymore, kind of thing." So it's a
I'm
very
not
tough
blaming.
time. And it's
I'm not
happening to
blaming
Trent
him.
as well. Yeah.
I'm not blaming him. I'm just blaming the system now. That
System.
it's not him necessarily. I'm just saying that because of the system, he's now getting more exposed as a defender now, and Klopp's system is not benefiting him. Because Van Dijk, if you would realize, he was also a front foot defender that was always, playing at the front foot, joining attack, because he knew that, he'd never need to do a lot of defending now. So now that space is being created between midfield and defense. Now you don't have a Mane that has to, come back and win back the ball. You have your Diaz and Salah always in front on the press. They don't track back a lot. So I believe it's the system. If they would get another, strong midfield, maybe he can get back that form. But him and Trent, they just overexposed this season.
Okay, here's my 2 cents on it, right? And I just want to touch on two things. I'm going to start with the first thing. I think in a few previous episodes, Nkulego actually mentioned it, that this is going to be a true test for Klopp if he can actually refresh a team. And I think it's very important that as fans that we also are aware when a team is going through a transition. The fact is, Liverpool has aging players, which were key players who have won the Champions League and the EPL for Klopp under Klopp. They've won everything under the sun. And unfortunately, just like anything in life, it has a life cycle. And what you do during the life cycle is what kind of, in this situation right now, what makes it look harsh on Klopp, or why fans are harsh on Klopp. Forgot what he achieved, which is so ridiculous, considering that he's using the same players that he achieved those titles with. But people tend to just forget because we are focused on like instant gratification. But we are forgetting that even before Klopp won those titles, he had to build the team. He was struggling in building the team. And eventually he got it right and they started winning everything. But we forgot those struggles. We just were interested in the achievements. And now we are interested in the form. And for me, it's not necessarily a form. It's just a life cycle. The truth of the matter is Van Dijk is a world-class defender, but he's in his declining years. Facts. There was a plan, a succession plan, which is Joe Gomez. Unfortunately, he hasn't developed so quickly to reach that level because of injuries. Let's be honest. He was the rightful heir for Van Dijk. Trent Alexander-Arnold, something is just off with him. We know he's a brilliant right back. Whether he's good at defending or not, it was always been questionable. But we know he gives you the attacking edge. So that leaves us with the midfield, which is the biggest problem. Liverpool have been scraping through with that midfield for years. They won the titles with that not so great midfield, let's be honest. And this year it has caught up with them. And they've tried to get a plug and play in Arthur. And that's, Arthur is a different topic.
Did they ever replace Van Alden, really?
No.
Yeah. They've never actually, eh?
No, never.
No.
They've never. But they also have young players in that position who are obviously inexperienced. And unfortunately, where Liverpool is now is not where Liverpool was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, as a coach for Liverpool, you could play youngsters and lose. It will be fine. They'll say you're developing the team. We know where we're going. Right now, Liverpool are basically on par with Man City. We're a top team. So you're expected to win every game. So unfortunately, we'll get slack for that. And then we have the whole situation of the front line, where everyone underestimated Sadio Mane's influence on the team on and off the ball. I think a lot of people are so focused on stats and they forget that football is beyond stats.
Yep.
And that man gave you football, not stats. He gave you football. He made the entire team tick. And people undermined it because, one, he's African, let's be honest. Number two, he is not the most flamboyant person.
Yeah.
He's such an introvert, very religious, looks after his things, very private. And one last thing, Liverpool made a decision. And this is where we need to be just honest with things, right? And Liverpool also need to be honest with themselves. There were 2 contract renewals that were on the table. They had to renew Sadio Mane's contract. They had to renew Mo Salah's contract. Guess what? They looked at the numbers. So once again, it tells us that people leading that club just are stats people, which is very dangerous. We all know that stats can lie.
No, facts. Shame though, like
it's actually
nice to catch up. Yeah. So sorry, just on that note, a decision had to be made, a tough one, right? And like I totally understand why they chose Salah over Mane, right? I don't agree, right? I think Mane is better for the team, but like also like Salah's numbers are crazy, right? It's like they've been crazy. And like I mean, like Salah is also like a good all-round player. Like I don't think he's no Messi, he's not like the best thing I've ever seen. But to be fair to Liverpool, like as far as choosing Mane and Salah, it could be like a flip of a coin thing. Like I think either way, whoever you choose, no one is really gonna be like angry, like, that is so obvious kind of thing. So yeah, I think as you say, like sometimes you just make a call and like you hope for the best. And if it doesn't work, then tough titty, right? Like shit happens, you move on, you try to rectify it in the following transfer windows and stuff like that. So yeah, like it happens. It is my point. Yeah.
So essentially they made the call and it's not going their way. But once again, we're only 9 games in. So there's 38 games in a season. So
but I mean 9 games in is quarter of the season. Like this is 25% of the season.
But as it stands, it seems like, yes, they made the wrong decision, but I would like to judge it after 38 games. I think let's actually revisit this topic after 38 games. However, they did invest money in a new number 9. Liverpool has never played with a traditional number 9. So this tells us the tactics had to change. And probably Klopp thought it would be an easy transition for other players. And unfortunately, they all struggled. They can't accommodate Nunes. That's a fact. I mean, let's just use the example of Haaland. We all know that Pep Guardiola does not like traditional number 9s, but he had to change his strategy for this man and also informed his team around him, guys, we're going to play to his best. Like, we need to beat him.
But to that,
and Liverpool,
to that point,
go ahead.
I actually think Haaland is adapting to the system. If you can listen to the comment that KDB made, he was like, they were like, oh, you guys have to adapt to having like a reference point, like a number 9. It was, as much as he's a good player, he must adjust to our system. And you must notice that, like, Haaland I don't know how many runs that he makes into the box that he has to track back. Like every single match, of the chances that he scores, it's like after, I don't know, 10 runs that is made, in a short space of time. So they definitely, what I've noticed with Haaland, he's now more of a, if they can't now build intricate passes to the ball, he's an outlet of like a direct pass. Like KDB has a direct pass into the box. Everyone has a direct pass. That's what a number 9 is, It's just like runs into a space, you run around it. But like their build-up plays, so it's still the same. The only thing that they are adapting more is that they have a direct pass into the box now.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing in good level. They have a direct, Haaland has a direct pass from how many people? How many people in that Man City are ball players? Basically, that entire squad behind the striker is a ball player. They're all technically gifted. Liverpool just doesn't have those players. They literally have Thiago, who is always injured. So guess what? As Nunes, you are always going to be struggling for supply. You are always going to struggle unless the midfield changes. That's because true. They are wingers as well. Agreed wingers. The wingers they have right now. Mane used to be a creator. Salah is not a creator. Let's be honest. He's chasing his numbers. Jota, he's just trying to score goals. He has no time to be. Luis Diaz tries.
That guy doesn't even pass Ronaldo. Who's Nunes? He doesn't even pass Ronaldo in Portugal. You think he's gonna pass you?
Exactly. So Klopp is no idiot. He can see it all. He knows what he has to do. And unfortunately, maybe it won't happen this season. Maybe it will happen next season. But however, I'd like to see it, what happens at the end of the season. But also the second thing I wanted to say about this whole Liverpool thing. I think it was Gary Neville as a pundit. He said, if Van Dijk played in the era of Didier Drogba, he would not be a world-class defender. And I remember reading it and I was like, no, man, Gary Neville is out of his mind. But now when I sit back and I think about it, I'm like, maybe he's been overly protected over these years. Is he really such a brilliant defender? Vidic was a brilliant defender.
To be honest, it's like that argument I was telling you guys, right? I think we had a chat, right? Is that because of the press type of systems that are there, we no longer require like people who actually enjoy defending, like a defender's defender, like someone that actually, enjoys the art of defending. Because think about if you're playing with a press, your job as a defender, right? If the low block fails, you get the second block, and that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing for attackers to sort of like play around, right? Because a press is like, yo, these guys are on my neck. I need to think on my toes. So by the time you've beaten the first block, you have very little time to beat the next block. So all the defenders have to do there is just, play position. And so now there's less like, needing a defender to win a lot of one-on-one against one, being able to be positionally smart. And I don't know how many, like, okay, I know that is not a good example, right? But it hasn't been shown yet. But this Man United defender, Martinez, he's one of the few defenders that I've actually seen that enjoys defending. Like he defends on the front foot. Most defenders track back, even Van Dijk.
Yeah.
I've seen this season, like most of the goals that they're conceding now, it's because he's more hesitant, like, he has to watch the space, and now he's getting more exposed. So
you're so shameless. Nkulele is so shameless. How can you use Martinez as an example when Saliba exists? Use someone who just ate 6 goals this weekend.
No. But
Saliba was exposed against Man United as well, bro.
But however, I want to say in Togo, I understand why he had to use Martinez as an example. The reason why he had to use Martinez as an example, Martinez is is an old school defender. He's aggressive. He comes at you. He doesn't care what he has to lose to get that ball. Saliba is
And is
very
that good
tactful,
defending?
strategic.
Is
It's
that good
traditional
defending?
defending. It's traditional defending. We're not
But
saying
is
it's
it
good
good?
defending.
Is it good
I'm
defending?
not saying it's good defending. It depends on the tactics on the day. So I can't say it's good defending or horrible defending. But all I know, Martinez is that defender. He's Mascherano. He's a Sergio Ramos.
Yeah, because my top two criteria for rating any player in any position, number one for me is positional awareness, like just knowing what you have to do in your position. I think that's the number one like skill and that every player should have, right? That's why I'm asking Corey this thing. Hey, you must be aggressive. If you've got good positional awareness, you don't necessarily always have to be aggressive. You just know where to be all the time, right? So you can intercept balls more than you need to tackle, for example.
Vidic was aggressive and had a football brain, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. So I was just saying, for me, like the number one thing as a defender, I guess in this case, is just awareness, and number two, I guess, in this time that we live in now, is like technical ability, right? So yeah, like I hear what you guys are saying. And this is why like partnerships are such a big thing, right? In football, why they speak about partnerships. I made mention of this when we were building our perfect England 11, that you need one player who's like the brain, kind of. I mean, everyone must have a brain, obviously, but I think you need one like guy who's like the guy, who's the brain, technical ability, and then you need him to have like a sidekick who's now the madman, the person who's aggressive, who's going to do all of that dirty work, right? Which I think Arsenal have, for example, in Gabriel, even though Gabriel sometimes just annoys the hell out of me. But like, that kind of balance thing, and Village Ferdinand, you can have a lot of these examples, Terry, Cavallo, those kinds of things. So yeah, and sometimes you lucky you get a player who has both of those things in one, as you said, Village kind of thing. So yeah, I think to answer your question about Van Dijk not being a great defender in the era of Drogba, I don't think I agree with that statement. But I'll have to go see that clip and hear things, reasons as to why he says that. But yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Without spending too much time, let's talk about the game, the most important game we had to watch this past weekend. Any thoughts, Nkulego?
Yeah, let's just hear from you. The floor is yours, man.
The floor is all yours. 6-3. That's all I gotta say.
Number one, I knew what was good for me. I wasn't watching that match. For starters, like I knew that Haaland is gonna do something. Like from the beginning, that guy, like I don't know what. Maybe the only defense that I can trust, maybe to silence, Haaland, maybe, Tottenham, maybe I don't know, but there's no defense that I can see at the moment that can silence that guy. And I suspected this was gonna happen because with like a manager, right? Okay, you get a system that finally works and brings the best out of a team. Like Eric Ten Hag, like he could see that, okay, now he's getting his best team. Now I can take on any team now with this style of play. But you are versing Man City at Etihad with Haaland, with KDB, with Foden, with Gundogan. Like he didn't have enough time to actually instill this system that he's building to actually play or take on Man City, right? I was thinking he was gonna go conservative, Casemiro and McTominay, put in Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, Anthony and Sancho. We would have lost, like, nonetheless, but I don't think it would have been this bad. Fergie used to do it all the time against Arsenal, against Chelsea when he goes plays away. Those teams will outplay you. Like, at most, you need to be compact, catch them on the break. So, like, okay, the score, I'm surprised that it was that high, but looking at the system, that system, like, it's easy to play against Man United. If you have a striker like Haaland, that's gonna bully. Martinez is like, he's aggressive, but he's Martinez and Varane. Those two as well. I don't know who's the brain between those two. Like Dogozo mentioned, like, I believe against attacking teams, they'll always struggle. So, yeah, it was a football lesson. I think Man United made it too easy for them. The tactical approach, big ups, try and take on a top team, but if you are limited in terms of the play, Man United is limited at the back. We don't have strong defenders. So it was a serious football lesson. I think this is actually important that it happened this way. Now he actually knows the actual quality of the players that he has, like how much of a big job. And now I have less hope for top four. So that's it.
Can I add in? So, yeah, I have a couple of things around that match, right? So, obviously, I knew Haaland was going to score. Did I know he was going to score a hat-trick? 50%. I had a 50% probability he'll score a hat-trick. But the surprising player for me was Phil Foden. I did not see that coming. But I want to tell you something, Gulego and Man United fans and Eric Ten Hag, that when Pep was on goal number 4 or 5 when he made 3 substitutes. He made 3 substitutes.
I think he made 5 same time.
Oh, it was 5, right? Yeah, he made 5 substitutes. That was Pep showing sportsmanship. And you guys need to be humble enough to realize that what he was doing there. He was saying, you know what, we've thrashed them. But in order to keep someone's salary and food on the table, which is Eric Ten Hag, I'm going to take out 5 players who are key and actually just let the game play out. I'm gonna put in the kids. They're going to have fun. And that's you guys need to appreciate that move. He could have been ruthless and said, you know what, hit them 10. And 10 would have went through.
Yeah.
But he showed some sportsmanship, and people need to acknowledge it.
Definitely. Like the Man City
players got hat-trick. All I'm saying, I've watched football my whole life. 2 players scoring hat-tricks in one game is the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen in my life at this level.
In a derby. Biggest like match in Manchester. 2 hat-tricks.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I also have to admit, when Fred came into the pitch, and you guys know I hate Fred, but when Fred came into the pitch, Man United started taking shape. When Anthony Martial got into the pitch, Man United started taking shape. So I will tell you your 3 players that chopped you that game. 1, Sancho. He had no tactical awareness. He was nowhere. He wasn't tracking back. Therefore, he's mounting so much pressure on the defense and midfield. He really wasn't helping the team at all. Yes, Anthony scored, but same thing as Sancho, not tracking back. He thinks he's a superstar already. And unfortunately, with a team like Man United, you need help from every player to defend, especially against Man City. We all know that you have to defend with your whole 11. Otherwise, you'll get destroyed. And then the last player that, McTominay, disappointing. Very disappointing. I don't understand why he didn't start with Casemiro. I'm still Yeah, I still don't understand why Casemiro's on the bench. But also another disappointing player was Varane. Considering that he has so much experience and he's a World Cup winner, Champions League winner, I expected a lot more. He was not helping Martinez at all. He's supposed to be the brain, but it never happened. But yeah,
Varane
that's
is
my
one
two
of the
cents
most
on it.
overrated players of all time, but we'll have a conversation about that another day.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Anyway,
That's my controversial opinion for today.
Who?
We'll discuss it another time. Varane.
Yeah, I believe so too. I think he needs a brain. Like, he played well with Ramos. I don't think he can actually lead a defense. Like, yeah, topic for another day.
anyway, gentlemen, thank you for a wonderful conversation. And just to squeeze in a few things, I'm going to bring our predictions for the next EPL game, which is Matchday 10. We're finally on 10 games. Going to go quick. Shoot, Brighton and Tottenham. Winner?
1-0 Tottenham.
Okay.
Yeah, 2-0
Everton
Tottenham.
vs Man United. Okay. Everton vs Man United in good level.
Man United 2-1.
2-1. Same.
Okay. Arsenal vs Liverpool, the big one.
Whew. We never beat Liverpool, eh?
Yeah.
This is the big test. I think 2-1 Arsenal.
Good level.
3-0 Liverpool.
3-0 at Emirates. Anyway, Chelsea vs Wolves.
1-1 draw.
2-1 to Chelsea.
I actually have an interesting game here. Crystal Palace vs Leeds United. That game's going to be hot.
2-2.
3-2 Crystal Palace.
I say 3-2 Leeds. I think it's going to be a high scoring. Anyway, gentlemen, thanks a lot for your time. We shall meet once again before the weekend starts.
Cheers,
Shall
mate.
start.